Hello friends, welcome. Friend, yesterday I was working on a code which basically was aimed at structuring a file which was posted in the website of World Gold Council to be able to extract the information for processing and visualization. So that video is not yet complete. So I had completed till this portion and I had yet to take you through this code. Now yesterday I told you that the video that I am recording the code that I am developing is no rocket science. So it is not about doing hi-fi coding, etc. What I want to teach you or tell you, whatever I have learned, is that simple coding can help you structure your data in such a way that it can save you tons of extra effort, repetitive efforts. And that is not going to, consume a huge amount of effort of learning. With ChatGPT, it has become very simple. But only thing that one needs to understand is that how to make your code scalable. Okay. Now, I have yet to complete this code, but yesterday I got a request and I was asked to another session on coding and visualization, which is slightly different. This is regarding what? This is regarding the RBI's forward-looking surveys, right? So if you look at this website here, RBI, keeps, posting forward-looking surveys, and that is captured here. So there are various kind of surveys which you will find, and this is in this opening page. So when you click that website and the forward-looking surveys, you will be able to get to this particular page. So once you click one of the surveys, what you will see is a PDF file here, and the PDF file will look like something like this. So you can read and you can understand. But what I am trying to accomplish is I am trying to download the time series data from the PDF file and work on the time series data so that we can get more insights. We are not dependent upon what we are told, right? Because sometimes you need to find out more insight, and we have to do it in such a way that even if the structure of this file, which I'm going to show you how it looks right now. So there are various tabs in this file, this same file which I showed you right now in this PDF file, right? This is a PDF file and there is a link here. So please see the Excel file for time series data series. So when you go to the Excel file, you will see that this file will look something like this. So there will be various tabs here. T1 product wise 3M, T1B product wise 1 year. So what it is basically, these files are basically doing is they are telling you what is the perception of forward looking inflation by households, product wise 3 month on a 3 month basis, product wise on a 1 year basis, and product and household, what the household thinks about the inflation. Now this is the structure of the data right in front of you. You can see that this data has what? Merge columns, merge rows, and then even the rows are not properly structured. Can you see that? They are not properly structured. Now, working with this data in a conventional way, right? Copying and pasting, and I'll show you. Suppose let's say if you decide to copy and try to basically work on this data in a conventional way, which I'm going to show you right now here. So let's say if I go to this website here, go to this page, and then what I do is I just select and then I do what? Paste values. This is what you're going to do. So what will happen is when you do paste values, you see what will happen to the data structure. It is so difficult to manage this data. Can you manage this data using conventional Excel techniques? Maybe you can, but I can't, because it becomes so difficult for me to do a lot of work here. So I will not. We will make an attempt. But what I am going to do is I'm going to tell you how this can be done very easily using a Python based small code, not a very big code. And you don't have to be an expert programmer to learn this technique, and that is the good thing, because I didn't have any computers, though I actually had studied coding etc. long back, around 25-30 years back when I was in college, but later I was never in this particular field. But I have built this skill myself, and I found this very simple to learn. With ChatGPT, the life has become very simple, very easy. But what ChatGPT is not going to tell you is how to make an Excel sheet more scalable. What I mean by this, means how to make this code more scalable. So what I mean by this is that, look, this is the structure of the code, right? Structure of the sheet. Now, can you guarantee that this structure is going to remain the same all the time? Will RBI will maintain discipline and will keep the structure? What if this structure becomes like this? This is the structure, see? If this is the sheet, the same sheet which I showed you right now, right? This is the same sheet, right? Look at this sheet. So this sheet, what I have done is I have converted this sheet into a structure like this. See, there are so many rows have been added, so many columns have been added, disturbed the structure, and I have basically done what? I have converted some of the merged rows and columns into, I have unmerged them, right? Now, what if I tell you that if you run the code that I am going to show you here, this is the code. If I run this code on both the sheets, whether this sheet as well as this sheet, this sheet, the outcome will be similar. This is the outcome. See, you will have a plain simple date column, and then you have a metric column and the value column. So now you can see that how easy your life becomes. The life will become extremely easy because you have made your code future proof and distortion proof. It's not going to manage every kind of distortion, which you will be aware of it. But if there are minor modification here and there, your code is going to work. Now, this is the whole purpose of this video, to explain to you how a simple code like this can work and create an output like this, which is going to not change even if you change the structure of your sheet. Which is extremely valuable, by the way. It is extremely valuable skill to learn because that will make your life much more easy. Okay, so let's start. Let's start on the code. Now, everybody understand how simple Python. Maybe most of you may not, but it is very simple. Let me just explain. So you import pandas, and then you go change the directory path because my file is stored in a specific directory, so I have to go to that particular path. And then what I'll do, I'll basically copy that file from in a data frame, right? And then I'll drop all rows, all columns which are null. So I'll run this cell and show it to you how the data frame will look. Okay, so this is how the data frame will look, right? So you'll see that there are a lot of nulls, a lot of unnecessary columns and rows, and which you need to manage. Now, one of the most important thing to know here is that we have to identify the row which contains the header, and you have to manage the header first, and you have to do it automatically because a lot of time gets consumed in naming the column headers. It's a huge amount of task. So how do you do that work automatically? Okay, so let's understand this. So what I'm doing is, so if you look at the original file structure here, you will find that the file will have some headers, right? This is the headers that you will see in the file. So what are this current, 3 months ahead? So these are the headers that you interested in. You are not interested in inflation expected in percentage because that's a common head. Everybody knows. You are not interested in, maybe you are interested in round number, but this is some of the things you have to do, in the code in a hard-coded manner. And I'll tell you which you can have to do in a hard-coded manner and which you can do automatically, right? So you will like to extract these rows which contains these main headers, right? Without any kind of physical or manual intervention automatically. So how do you do that? The first thing you have to do is to identify the row. So the identify the row has to happen based on a identifier. So that identifier, you have to understand what that identifier is. And if that identifier is not present in the file, then you have to physically mark that row physically using that identifier, and that is the first step you have to do before processing this sheet. And you can do it very easily because you know the structure of your code, and you can just simply come to this cell and just type it out, right? So it's as simple as that. So I have used the identifier as round. Round is my identifier because the computer will not know, right? No artificial intelligence will know how to find the identifier, and if you try to basically incorporate all those artificial intelligence, it will make the code very complex. So let's not do that. Let's understand some of the things you have to do manually. So I'll put the identifier as round number. So what I have done is I have now selecting the first column, and then within that first column I am trying to understand or trying to find where is round, and if that is true, then I am taking the column. I'm basically identifying the row, means row number, that is the index number. So if I run this, and then if I just show you what is this IDX contain, the IDX will contain a number, right? Which I showed you yesterday also in my video, so which is number 1, right? So once the IDX number is present here, so I think why it is choosing number 1? Because I think it should not, because what is happening is that it is probably taking the number of a different. So let me do the following. Let me save this file first. I think it should not be 1. I think it was an old file. Let me just run this again. So okay, so there is a no, it is round number 1. Why it is round number 1? Because clearly it is here. You see, round number 1. I got confused myself. So it is doing automatically, right? So round number 1 is here, the index number 1 is here, so it is 1, right? Now what you have to do is you have to now pick up the headers from the row below, because this is not the header index. This is not the row which contains the header. The header is contained in the row marked index with 2 and 3. So what we have to do is that that it is IDX plus 1. So what I am doing is I am clipping the data frame which is above that index, right? So this is how I am clipping. So I am clipping the data frame, to clip the data frame above the identified row, and then the data frame will look like this. See, the data frame will look like this. So that the round is gone now. Now I know that my headers are contained in this particular row and this row, right? Row number 2 and 3. So I have to extract the headers. So I am extracting the headers. Now why I am doing fill, which I am going to show you right now. So let's do without fill. Okay, so I'll just mark this, comment this, and what I'm going to do, I'm just going to copy this again, and then I'll enter and then paste V, and then I'm going to uncomment them and run it. So if I run it without fill. So let's run it without fill, okay? And then I have to rerun this whole thing again. So when I'm running this without fill, where is it? Yeah. And then I'm going to show you how it looks. So I have header 1. So header 1 will look something like this. We have got nan, current, 3 month ahead, etc., 1 month ahead, and render. These are not the headers that you want. You want a clean header, right? The current should be current, 3 month ahead should be 3 month ahead, like that. And that is why you have to do fill, and then you do this. So you see? So it becomes very clean. That is the reason I am used filled. Now you probably understand. So let me just delete this, and let me remove, uncomment this, and I'm going to delete this, okay? So once I've deleted, uncommented this, and I run this, so you will have header 1 and header 2 as I have described. Then what I am creating a combined header, adding both the headers, and put a separator. The separator I am using is because sometimes I have to process the header. It becomes easy for me to process the header if you have a separator. So I run this. Once I've done that, now I have to drop the rows which contains the header. So this is a very simple code. So I'm dropping it. And now, since the header contains, so I'll show you. So here is the header. The header contains 2 nans, and then all the other column names. So what I have to do, I have to drop these 2. So I am doing this automatically using this list comprehension and adding round number and date as the first 2 columns, which I told you in the initial stage itself that some of the things you have to do manually. And I'm naming the data frame as DF columns. So I'll just delete this cell, and then what I'm going to do, I'm going to show you how it looks now, right? So the column will look like this. So you see, all the columns have been named, okay? So I'll delete this, and then what I'm going to do is, I will check the date column, and then within the date column, if there are certain nulls within that column, means there could be certain dates which will have a row missing. Missing means a row with no date mapping with the row number, which I don't want, because every column has to have a date mapped with it. So what I'm doing is, again, I am going to use a list comprehension, and I'm going to filter the data on the basis of whether those rows contain nan or not. Why I am using nan? Because I am converting that. I'm using a lambda function. By the way, I don't know whether you are aware of lambda function, and I'm going to break it up a little bit piece by piece so that you understand. So what is the data frame looking like? The data frame is looking like this, okay? Now what I'm doing, I'm taking the date field. So the date field is going to look like this. See, there are certain nans in there. So what I'm doing is I'm converting everything into string. So how do I do it? I'm going to use an apply function. And then I'm going to use a lambda function. The lambda function is nothing but a definition, a function which you don't have to define in advance. You can define the function right within that particular step line, and it becomes very easy, right? So I'm using lambda, and then what I'm doing is I will convert each and everything. Every value of that particular column into string. So if I run this, you will see that this has all been converted into string. See now the nans have been converted into string. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to check whether it is nan or not. So when I do it, this will be a true and function, the boolean function. So once I have it, I'm going to just reverse this, because I don't want these rows, I want the rows which are opposite. So I'll use a tilde here. And then what I'm going to do, I'm going to just put df, and I'm going to filter the whole data frame, right? So now see, so I have all the rows which do not contain nan. That's exactly what this function was doing. So I'm going to delete this, and I'm going to run the cell so that now you understand. After having done that, how the data frame was looking? The data frame was looking like this, right? And there are certain columns which I don't like. It is not properly named, like standard, dot deviation, etc. So those you can manually change, and you can leave it aside. It depends upon your taste, how you feel it. Because I am always of the opinion that everything should look good, right? If something good looks, then only you feel better. Once you feel good, then only you can, your performance will be good. I don't like clumsy data, I don't like to deal with clumsy data. So every time, when the data is there, it should actually look elegant. That is the most fundamental part of it, right? Of your work. The first basic principle. So what I'm converting is I'm replacing the string, again using a list comprehension, replacing the string with the standard D, which looks better to me. So I'm changing the name of the column, and now the column names will look a little better, right? Still not better, but it is better than what it was earlier. After having done this, so what I'm going to do, I am going to now convert the date into date time, because it is important. This is the most important step, by the way. You should not leave the date as it is. Otherwise, nothing is going to work later. You have to convert, because when you're storing a CSV file, if the formatting is gone, you will not be able to process your data. So this is a very important step. Convert the date into date time. And every time whenever you're using data and a data frame, you should use this, your code, and make sure that your date is properly structured as date time. So now if you see here, how the data frame is going to look now, this is going to be structured properly. You see that? It's all structured properly. After having done that, after having converted the date time, this is a horizontal data frame. See, it's a horizontal. Now I want to convert it into a vertical data frame. So what I'm doing is I'm just converting this data frame into a vertical data frame, and then I am going to show you how the data frame is going to look, which is a very simple thing to do. You can just pause the video and have a look at this code, and now the data frame has been converted into vertical. Now what I am also going to do is that I'm going to remove all these nans, because these are unnecessary. These I don't need. So I'm going to simply set round number as index, and wherever there is no round number mapped to a particular set of data set, that will get removed, right? So if I do that, then what will happen is, if you see here, I'm going to show you how the data frame is going to look now. So what will happen is all the nans are gone. See, now data frame has become very clean and simple to manage, right? After having done that, what I'm going to do now, I am going to make these year, ahead, etc. properly structured, because I don't like this, the small letters and capital letters, etc. So what I'm doing is I'm using a title function, again a list comprehension, a title function. Then I am using the title function and then splitting the data frame on the text on split, because these gaps are there. So I'm splitting it and then joining it. Is again a very simple thing to do. And then I'm replacing STD, because when I'm going to do a title frame, then what will happen is that this is going to get converted into like this. So I'm just making sure that it's the same structure which was there earlier, and then I'm doing it for this. Simple. You can just pause the video and write this code, and you can easily work on it. After having done that, I am now converting the value into float, because these values may be string or object. Convert into float and then round it properly, right? So that it is not showing multiple decimals, which does not look good. So then, after having done that, the data frame will look something like this. This is the data frame. And then, you see, everything has been properly structured now. And then you store it in the final CSV file. So I'll just remove some of the things which I've done. And then what I'm going to do is, I'm going to show you how the structure, when I change the structure of the file, how the final piece of information or whatever you get as a file is not disturbed, right? So I'll just remove all these unnecessary workings from the time frame. So I'm removing this so that it becomes much cleaner. These cells have to be removed. Now I'm just going to run it again so that there is no error in removing, because sometimes when you remove, you end up committing mistakes. Yeah, so there is no error, everything worked perfectly, right? So how the file looks now? The file will look like this. I'm going to show you. I'll bring that file here. So I'm opening this file. So this is the file. See, this is the file which you show. So I'm going to, what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove this file, close this, don't save, right? And then what now I'm going to do in front of you, I'm going to change the structure of the file and run the code just to see whether this code works and able to digest the change of structure. So what I'm going to do, I am going to delete these 2 rows. Delete. I'm going to add some few rows here. Column, sorry. So insert. Okay. And then I'm going to unmerge certain codes, merge and unmerge certain cells. Okay. So I unmerge it. After having done that, what I'm going to do, I'm going to unmerge some of the cells here also. See, there are some rows which are merged. I'm going to unmerge them. Right? So see how it has changed. And then I'm going to add certain rows, insert certain rows. Now this file, the structure has been completely changed. Right? You see this? And I'm going to save it here, save. After having saved it, this should work. Right? But if the code is able to handle this, then even if the structure of the file has changed, you can deal with it. So let's see whether the code is able to handle this change or not, right? So I'm picking up the file, the same file. So look at the file, the name file, so that you can understand. This is the file. What is the name? CPI survey-prac. So I'm using the same file. I'm picking the same file. And so let me just run this. If there are no errors, means this is running perfectly and it's scalable. See, final is getting stored. It got stored in this. What is the time? 9:11. Yeah, it's the same time, almost similar, right? So if I open this, let's open the file and you see this file. Can you see? So the structure of the file, even if you change, your output will not change. Which is the beauty of this way of writing code. So whenever you write code, you don't have to be a scientist or some AI developer or something. When you are working with simple data sets and when you are doing visualization, your objective is different than people who are doing hardcore programming. But you need to know how to make your code scalable. If your code is not scalable, then you will keep on repeating the same work again and again. It's going to be a complete waste of time and energy, and you will not be able to handle multiple data sets, because all these data sets are available in the public domain. You don't have to go to Bloomberg, right, to get your information, right? And even if you go to Bloomberg to understand and get your data set, they will charge you a huge amount of money. And the structure of the data frame or the data that they give you is not in a format that you would like to process, because sometimes the data does not tell the story if you don't look at the data from all sides. So you should have the power to handle your own data. Okay, so that's the whole purpose of this video. So I think you have understood. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to follow up, because this 25 minutes have passed. I'm going to immediately follow up with a Tableau data, feed this code into a Tableau dashboard and show you how can create a heat map very quickly and easily using this file which I've just processed in front of you. So I'll thank you. I'll come back to you with this video, immediately after this video I have uploaded this video. Thank you very much.